Okay, you guys, you have a vocab quiz. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to study. Remember, these are the 12 terms that we went over on Quizlet. So please remain quiet for those of you who just want to sit here, but for those of you who want to study a little bit, you got about 5 minutes. You need to get the credit card you can.
Can I get my bag from this car?
Please pardon the interruption. We have a lot of Valentine's goodies in the office, and students are to wait until their lunch. I'm going to read a list of students that have something in the office. There may be others, but again, we don't want them to miss class time for this. They just need to come during their lunch. April Furman, Henry Thurman, Maddie Farrar, Brady Farrar, Brady Hutchinson, Tyler Spooner, Bo Maxey, Holly Jackson, Becca Jackson, Carmen Hajistaki, Deja Hockey, Emily Glover, Grayson Wilson, Shannon Evans, Shiloh Sweet, Kinsley McClellan, Kieran McKnight, Gracie Griffin, Riley Lyons, Shannon Williams, Cassidy Franks, Olivia Lyons, Ellen Lowe, Jacob Caldwell, Holly Jackson, Rebecca Jackson, Anna Doolin, Tony Berryhill, Lydia Whitworth, Mackenzie Dorsey. Again, there may be others, but please check at your lunch, not during our valuable education time. Thank you.
Okay, so now you have 5 minutes to study for your quiz. Kelsey, Miss Kathleen needs to see you in the library. You already saw her last period? Did she email Miss Kathleen?
Yeah.
If y'all need a Chromebook to study, you are more than welcome to go get one. And go ahead and keep it out because we're going to need one after the quiz. So I'll explain what we're doing with it.
May I get the bag?
You have your password? You got your password with me? You don't have it? It's about right. Yes. For those of you who don't remember the vocab list is in your Google Classroom.
I don't know if this is correct.
Mhm.
Are you sure? Just gonna say that.
got about 3 more minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I have one, it'll be in my cup over there. You're gonna have to measure
The year.
Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and put them up. But if you want to, you can leave your Chromebooks like on and logged on because we're gonna need them again. But go ahead and click off of your vocab terms. I promise this is not hard. This is my Valentine's Day gift to y'all. Y'all should do great at this. So y'all ready? Go ahead and y'all can like put them to the floor, to the side, however you want to do this. Okay, so you guys listen real quick, okay? I'm gonna pass these out. This is just your 12 vocab terms that we went over. After you're done, make sure you put your name on it, your class period, and the date, turn it in the basket. Then, pull your Chromebooks back up. There's 2 things you can do while you wait on everyone to get done. In your Google Classroom, there should be something that says Dred Scott. Click on that and go ahead and get that file open. Then, above that, it's going to say vocab.com. It's a link. Click that link, log into vocabulary.com with Google, okay? That's all you need to do. And then from there, wait. This shouldn't take but 5 minutes for everybody to finish, okay? Awesome. Okay, y'all got pencils on your desk?
Yeah.
I don't have them. Hey, Jill, if you go in that drawer, right in that top drawer on my desk right there, there should be a box of pencils. I just bought some new ones.
This one?
Okay, who needs a pencil? Raise your hand and Jill will hook you up. Okay, you guys, quizzes are out, so make sure you are quiet and facing forward.
Stuff on which drawer?
That top drawer. You're welcome. I'm so sorry, you guys. I thought I'd already handed it to you. This never happens. I have just If you get confused, I meant to tab over a little bit further. The one that says Missouri Compromise and Kansas Nebraska Act, there should be a space between those 2. See on your word bank? That's not one term, that's 2 terms. Kansas Nebraska Act is 1, and then Missouri Compromise is 1. your big key that stated that Congress could not ban or control slavery in any territory. Senator John C. Calhoun. This allowed Missouri to enter the Union as a slave state, Maine to enter as a free state, the Missouri Compromise. 1854, the Act. Act was your key, that was your hint. That gave people in those territories the right to choose to be free or slave through popular sovereignty. Kansas, Nebraska Act. The notion that the people of a territory should determine if they want to be a slave state or a free state. Popular sovereignty. Ooh, y'all didn't sound confident on that one. Okay, 1850, this man from Kentucky suggested a compromise for many problems in the 1800s. Henry Clay. Senator Henry Clay. The pro-slavery Missourians who traveled in armed groups to vote in Kansas. Border ruffians. A war between people of the same country. Civil War. Compromise of 1850. He divided Henry Clay's proposal into 5 parts. Stephen Douglas. My all-time favorite person to talk about this study, abolitionist who was hanged after leading an unsuccessful reign, John Brown. Member of Congress, best known for the Wilmot Proviso, David Wilmot. I thought that was a given. And then a person who flees or tries to escape. Fugitives. Okay, good job. Hopefully y'all got that. I tried to make that one pretty simple. Okay, so I know we already talked a little bit about Dred Scott. We did a little bit of an overview about his case, but I really wanted to dive in deeper. Because we had our vocab quiz today, I didn't put up a bell ringer, but if I did, it would be this question right here. Should laws always be followed, even if they're unjust?
No.
Why?
Because maybe they were some. No, because they're.
So if it's unjust, it's like it's unfair. It's not right. So should a law be followed, even if it's unjust?
No, because like sometimes. Wait, what is unjust?
Like unfair.
No, because it's like if you see other people not following it, it should be different.
But if someone's not following the law, is that not wrong? Because it's the law.
And what's the law?
It's kind of like how, I mean, the law is the law. You have to follow it. You need it's the law. I mean,
So should you follow it, even if it's unjust, because it's the law?
yeah, I mean, it's the law. You have to follow it.
Okay, raise your hand if you say yes, it's the law, you have to follow it, even if it's unfair. Raise your hand if you're on the other side. Regardless, if it's unfair, you shouldn't have to follow it.
It's basically.
It's pretty even.
It's basically the same as saying, you're supposed to treat your slaves wrong. Like that's the law. And but like if you know it's wrong. But if it was.
So kind of like we talked about, what act did we just talk about?
The Missouri
The one that Nebraska had.
Oh, and that was
Come on, no, what's the act that they compromised? There was the
the
5
Missouri
parts.
Compromise of 1820.
But what was the part that the South got out of it that they really wanted?
California would be
Keep coming.
a free state, but the others would have limits if they wanted slavery.
But what's the law that was so unfair? It was the Fugitive Slave Act. That regardless, if you had made it to freedom as a slave, if someone turned you in, you had to go back. That's law. Is that fair?
No.
Should you follow it?
No.
But it's the
Hold on.
law. You could go to jail. You could be prosecuted if you don't follow it.
I'd rather go to jail than do something I didn't know what you were talking about.
So, I'm not saying, and I'm not going to say that there's a right or wrong answer. I don't know. I'm going to throw this one at you. Think of a lesson we learned way at the beginning of the year where we already talked about this. It's law. Maybe, is it wrong to go against the law even if you don't think it's right? Does anyone remember what we talked about?
Jim Crow.
Not Jim Crow, way before that. That's Arkansas history, but I'm proud of you for remembering that. I'll tell you, it has to do with Thomas Jefferson.
The Constitution.
The fight?
What about the Constitution?
He wrote it.
No,
You couldn't purchase land from other
foreign countries.
other countries.
It wasn't stated in the Constitution, and what did he want to buy?
Foreign land.
Louisiana Territory. So he technically went against the law to get the Louisiana Territory because he knew it would better the country. It's kind of the same premise, different different, but you're still asking that same question. Is it ever okay to go against the law when you know it's not right? So, I can't tell you that there's a right or wrong answer, but it's something to ponder. So, let's rehash what we already learned about Dred Scott. What do we know?
Oh. That that these people came to him saying to sue for his freedom, and his act made it to the Supreme Court, but they wouldn't let him be free because they said he was property.
Right. So we've got Dred and Harriet Scott. They are what?
Slaves.
Slaves. They are slaves to Dr. John Emerson and his wife, Eliza Emerson. They're going to move to where?
The free territory.
Free territory, yes.
Where did he sue for his freedom?
He goes, Dred Scott is going to sue for his freedom. So, they're going to move to a free territory. So, what's Dred Scott's premise going to be for suing?
That
he was in a free state and that he should have been free since it wasn't a state.
Not even necessarily a state. They do move to a free state, but
Free
then remember what we
territory.
talked about. They go to a territory, which technically is not even, like, slavery is completely banned in this territory. So, Dred Scott's going to sue.
Teachers, please allow the senior high girls basketball team to eat junior high lunch today, and then girls, you will report to the gym after lunch.
Okay, so we talked about how he's going to sue for his freedom on the premise that not only did they move to a free state, but then they moved to a free territory where slavery wasn't just frowned upon, it was banned. So, is he actually going to sue? Is it really the doctor or is it?
I think it's a law.
It's his. The doctor is what? He's
He's his master.
He's dead. He died.
Oh.
He does.
His wife. So he's actually going to sue his wife. And technically, if we're going to get real technical, it's actually going to be the wife's brother, but we're not. Who cares about that? So it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. This is where I said, should laws always be followed, even if they're unjust? Because what did we say about the Supreme Court? Once they rule on something, it's
final.
It's final. Who's the only person that can overturn anything the Supreme Court says?
The Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court. So whatever they rule, it's done. It's final. It's law. They have deemed their ruling as constitutional or unconstitutional. So, what did they say in Dred Scott's case? That he was what?
That he was property.
He wasn't
That
He was
You
property.
didn't have the right to sue.
Okay.
And you didn't have the right to take someone's property away from them.
So today we're actually going to read the Chief Justice's notes. His notes on the case, and we're going to kind of analyze and break that down. So y'all should have that Dred Scott document pulled up.
Yes.
Okay. Let's read. Okay. Who wants to read the first little bit for me?
Kanani do.
Okay. Kalani, you can read the first little bit. First, does anyone know it says annotation? Do y'all know what annotation means?
Annotation.
What we read? Oh,
So, yes, but you'll just read a paragraph. Do y'all know what annotate means? Or an annotation? It's basically just an explanation of a text. So it's like a couple of paragraphs before the actual document that's kind of explaining it.
it's like a
That's what-
comment.
Yeah, kind of. So that's what an annotation is. So why don't you read me the first paragraph of the annotation?
In March 1857, the Supreme Court answered a question that Congress had evaded for decades, whether Congress had the power to prohibit slavery in the territories. The case originated in 1846 when a Missouri slave, Dred Scott, sued to gain his freedom. Scott argued that while he had been the slave of an army surgeon, he had lived for 4 years in Illinois, a free state, and Wisconsin, a free territory, and that his residence of free soil had erased his slave status.
Okay. Who wanted to read next? Dakota.
All 9 justices rendered state separate opinions. The Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, 1777-1864, delivered the opinion that expressed the position of the court's majority. His opinion represented a judicial defense on the most extreme pro-slavery position. The Chief Justice made 2 sweeping rulings. The first was that Scott had no right to sue in federal court because neither slaves nor free blacks were citizens of the United States. At the time the Constitution was adopted, the Chief Justice wrote, blacks have been regarded as beings of an inferior order, with no rights which the white man was bound to respect. In fact, some states did recognize free blacks as taxpayers and citizens at the time that the Constitution was adopted.
How does that make you feel? Did y'all read that sentence? Says, he said, regarded as beings of an inferior order with no rights which the white man was bound to respect. So what do we instantly know from that sentence alone about the Chief Justice? He is pro what? Slavery. That he holds a pro-slavery position. So he's already going to be a little bit what? Biased. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. Okay, who's Serenity? Do you want to read the next thing? No? Who had their Emma?
Second, Tanny declared that any law excluding slaves from the territories was a violation of the Fifth Amendment prohibition against the seizure of property without due process of law. The Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional, he announced, because it prohibited slavery in Louisiana Purchase of north of 36.
The Dred Scott decision was a major political miscalculation. In its ruling, the court sought to solve the slavery controversy once and for all. Instead, the court intensified sectional strife, undercut possible compromise solutions to the issue of slavery's expansion, and weakened the moral authority of the judiciary.
Good job. Okay, so now, I'll just read here. Okay, so now we're actually getting to the actual document. So this is what the Chief Justice, these are his thoughts, his ruling, what he believes. So I wanted y'all, so there are going to be some words in here that you're going to be like, what? Because keep in mind when this was written, like 1860. So there's going to be a couple of words that you're probably not going to know. That's okay, we'll break it down. But I wanted y'all to hear from his mouth almost how he felt. I want you to understand why this ruling was such a big deal. Because what are we building up to? This is going to be one of the big causes that's actually going to lead us into what? The Civil War. This is going to be one of the straws that breaks the camel's back. This is a huge ruling. It's going to take that tension that's already just at each other, and that's going to crack the nation.
I thought that was Uncle Tom's Cabin.
That's part of it. There's a lot of things. So you got Uncle Tom's Cabin is going to be one. The book itself is going to cause a lot of issues in the South. You have the Dred Scott decision, which is going to cause a lot of issues. The South is going to celebrate over it, but the North is going to be like, whoa. You've got several things. The Fugitive Slave Act. A lot of things are culminating, and they're all going to kind of just explode. Okay, so Isabella, you read the first one. Janiyah, you get the second one.
Do I need to read the first sentence?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chief Justice Taney delivered the opinion of the court. In the opinion of the court, the legislation and histories of the times and the language used in the Declaration of Independence show that neither the class of persons who had been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they had become free or not, were then acknowledged as part of the people nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument.
Okay, real quick. So it says right here, so we're talking about language used in the Declaration of Independence, right? So he's talking about our country's bread and butter, where we get our law from. And he's stating that what? This group of people was never intended to what?
Be free.
Not necessarily to be free, but to
Be recognized people.
be recognized as like citizens, to
make the case to the court.
Kinda, yeah. But they're just not people that the Constitution has to recognize. They're not citizens, is basically. They're not going to get the rights of the citizens.
They're just property.
We're getting to that. Okay, Janiyah.
That after more than a century were been regarded as being an inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the laborers either in social or political relations.
Stop right there real quick. It says, they had for more than a century. How long's a century?
100 years.
Oh, that's a decade.
Been regarded as beings of an inferior order
That's 100
Oh,
years,
it is
right?
100 years.
and altogether unfit to associate with the white race. So since we have become a country, because remember, like I said, the Revolutionary War was really not all that long ago. So ever since the United States has become a country, Chief Justice is saying they are inferior. They are unfit to even associate with the white race. Continue.
And so far inferior that they had no rights, which the white man was bound to respect. And that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise in traffic whenever a profit could be made by it. This opinion was at that time based and universal in the civilized portion of the white race.
Okay, so he says that slavery was lawful because it did what?
Benefit?
It benefits who? He's saying slavery
The white man.
benefits not just the white
The
man,
government?
not
Black man.
the black man. He's saying, we gave them something. They were nothing. We're doing it for their benefits. And it says that this opinion at that time was universal. It was the civilized opinion. It was what every civilized person believed. Not the case, but that's what he's stating. Okay. Who's got the Jade and Midnight? Why don't you read this one for me real loud?
No one, we presume, supposes that any change in the public opinion or feeling in relation to this unfortunate race in the civilized nations of Europe or in this country should induce the court to give the words of the Constitution a more liberal construction in their favor than they were intended to bear, when the instrument was framed and adopted.
Keep going.
And upon a full and careful consideration of the subject, the court is of opinion that upon the facts stated in the plea of abatement, Dred Scott was not a citizen of Missouri within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States, and not entitled to such to sue in its courts.
Okay, this is where we get the big ruling. He just said what? Dred Scott is not a
Slave.
no.
Protestant.
He's not a citizen. So if he's not a citizen of the United States, what do we talk about? He doesn't even have the right, not just to
Not
vote,
but
To
to
sue.
to sue. He doesn't even have the right to sue. He has no right to even be in this court. It's like he doesn't even understand how his case made it this far because you're a slave, you're inferior, you therefore never even a citizen, you have no right to be here. So that's where we're gonna get the big ruling that what? Slaves are not human. They're not what? Citizens. You cannot be considered as citizens. And if you're not citizens, you do not get the rights that are promised to the American people in the Constitution. It's like a big exclusion. Not only is it just slaves, but he says those who came over, which includes what? Even the
Free people.
free African Americans. So he's saying if you came over, you are excluded from this. Okay, you can read.
We proceed to inquire whether the facts relied on by the plaintiff entitle him to his freedom. The act of Congress upon which the plaintiff relies declares that slavery and involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall be forever prohibited in all that part of the territory ceded by France, under the name of Louisiana, which lies north of 36 degrees, 30 minutes north latitude, and not included within the limits of Missouri. And the difficulty which meets us is whether Congress was authorized to pass this law under any of the powers granted to it by the Constitution.
Okay, so this is the part that I really wanted to get to, and then we're gonna move forward to the words, and we're gonna get out of this document. Not only does he say that you are not a citizen, so therefore you don't have rights, he said, what is he referencing here when he talks about this Missouri and Louisiana?
He's saying that he doesn't know how they were authorized to do the Missouri Compromise.
That the Missouri Compromise is completely and utterly unconstitutional, that they have no right to restrict slavery anywhere in the United States. In fact, that it is illegal. So we talked about this once again. I'm going to have y'all say it. The Supreme Court, what they say is final. It is law. This is such a big deal because all of a sudden, all these compromises that we talked about, the Missouri Compromise, Compromise of 1850 where we get California, even the Kansas-Nebraska Act, all of this is now what? Null and void. Shouldn't matter. It is wrong. It is unconstitutional. So do you understand now the governments, which are just hanging on by a thread, that have been trying to appease each other for the longest, are now all of a sudden, you see now how this is going to make everything just kind of crumble and fall apart? Because now one side's like, woo, got this, we won, all is good, slavery is legal, and you've got the other side, which is like paralyzed in fear. Like everything they've been working for is now, I mean, it's done. So this is why this is such a big deal. So you've got slavery should be legal, you cannot restrict it. Slaves and African Americans are not citizens, but even so far as say they're not citizens, he says that he is considered as his property. So he talks about due process. You can't take someone's property. Yes.
Well, how could they go to the Civil War when what the Supreme Court says is final? How could they declare war against?
Well, keep in mind, so you've got the South, which is gonna, what's the word? Starts with S? Secede and form its own country.
Yeah.
So it's almost like another country versus another country. But really, it's still the United States. So, Kelsey.
Can I read?
Well, we're going to leave the document. I actually want y'all real quick. I know we don't have too much time. That quiz took a lot longer and then all the interruptions. But go to vocab.com. You should have documents for Dred Scott. So let's go over a couple of those words. It should be in your assignments.
On Google Classroom.
You go to your Google Classroom and click on the link like we talked about. And then we'll work on that till the bell rings. Go down to the bottom, maybe go to your assignments. Okay. Sorry guys, I didn't realize we had ran out of time so quickly. We will finish this tomorrow. Keep working, but we'll work on the rest of this. Oh no, not tomorrow. We won't be here when we get back. And then we'll go from Dred Scott, and then we will go into my favorite. I'm so excited. We're going to talk about Harper's Ferry and then John Brown's trial.
I can't wait to learn about John Brown.
John Brown's so interesting. Keep going.
Can I work on this at home?
Do y'all have any questions thus far, though? I forgot to ask. Are y'all good? Everyone should understand this. This is pretty easy to understand, but it just kind of sets the tone for the whole, everything that happens hereafter. This is one of the things that's going to make John Brown, we're so excited about talking about, it's going to set him off. It's going to, in your words, trigger John Brown. guys. I'm gonna let you go ahead and log off. But slowly, let's go row one. Go ahead and plug up your Chromebooks. Make sure they're plugged up for me. Go ahead and start logging off. Hang on. Row two, you can go ahead and start there plugging up your Chromebooks. Okay, third row, you can go ahead and go. Go ahead and go. Okay, now go ahead and go. Y'all will have plenty of time to work on this when we get back.
Open the bell.
And I'll have you. Y'all go ahead and get your stuff. Oh, James already is set.
I'm at 86.
Whatever, bro.
While you were talking, I'm having to listen and do it.
Happy Valentine's Day, you guys. I love
You
you
too.
all.
Love you.
Think of me tonight when you get like candy Valentines and stuff, then you want to bring me some because you love me.
I would if I got